Hey, and welcome back. Today I've got a project dealing with this bass drum, and it should be a quick one, but I thought, why not bring you along and share some of my thoughts and opinions for getting a bass drum for gigging set up with a microphone in a more permanent situation. So this is a kit that I built back in the fall, and its whole intention is to use for gigging, especially on louder gigs where I need to mic it up typically. Now, what I've been doing currently is using a Boundary microphone, and I just plug in a cable, drop it in here on a towel, and it's pretty much good to go. But for years, I used a different microphone, and that was the Audix D6. I think of this as like an industry standard microphone. I don't like using it in the studio because it has a pre-EQ'd sound, but for live work, all that pre-EQ'd adjustments just makes it a lot more convenient and quick in a sound check setting. So I would like to get this mounted back in the kick drum, and my whole goal is to not obstruct the front head and have something set up where I can plug in a cable somewhere else off the shell. Now my problem is that I love how this drum turned out, and I don't know if this whole setup is really something I want to commit to yet, so drilling a hole in this shell to install an XLR adapter isn't really something I was too excited about. Additionally, I'm not really good with soldering, so the idea of like wiring up and soldering a mount here, running it through the vent hole, and then just having a butt end dangling is not something I'm really adept at doing. So what I've found is this product from Randall May. This is a little expensive. I think it cost me about $80 plus shipping, but it is a no drill and no solder XLR cable with this cool little end that goes through your vent hole on this drum. Now, luckily my vent hole's right on top, so that works out. I've seen some drums where the vent hole's on the bottom. That would be a bummer. You couldn't use this. But what you do is you take off this little plastic bolt and one of these washers, and you would run this end through your vent hole and then secure this piece on through the drum by attaching this back on the inside. The end of this cable is just like 3 small sleeves that fit on each prong on your XLR end of your microphone. No soldering required. It's a compression fit, and it should be pretty easy to do and hopefully get me set up. Now, the other piece of the puzzle that's missing is a mount. Now, I did debate with going with the Kelly Shoe system, which I think is really great, and I know tons of people who use it and love it, but that does run $50 to $100 for any of the various models they have. And for years, I've also used this product, which is made by Gibraltar. And this is a no drill mic stand that you can put inside of your drum. The Kelly Shoe is also no drill, meaning you don't have to add any new holes to secure it on. But what I like about this is you have this base plate with 2 cutout sections. And what you do is you remove 2 lug screws from inside the shell. And when you go to reattach them to the lug, you run it through these 2 slots. Now, I have single point lugs on here, so that's not gonna work, but I do have enough screws mounted where the spurs fold out, so I should be able to mount this there. This is definitely the cheaper option. I think it comes in at like 25 bucks or something. So that's one way to keep the cost down. The other way to keep the cost down would be just to buy one of those XLR plates with a short cable where you would drill out a hole for that. So in reality, you could probably do this whole project for like less than $50. I chose a little bit different way because this drum means a lot to me, and I'm still in the experimental phase of if this is something I want to do on this drum long term. So I'm going to start by removing the front kick head. We'll thread on this Gibraltar internal mic stand. Then we're going to remove this grommet where the vent hole is so that we can fit through our cable and get it all attached up, and it should be pretty quick, and then we'll see how it works. Also, don't worry, I'm only going to use this drill to remove the drum head. I'll do it by hand when I put it back on. All right, well, that was harder than it needed to be, but I think that's because these spurs don't actually go into the shell. So once I took the screws out, I had to realign everything again. Moving on, let's get this grommet taken out. It has a nut on one end and like an internal hex key. So now I think we can get this threaded in and attached. I'd be careful not to over tighten this because this is a plastic washer. I'm sure you could get a metal one because the other end of it is metal, but I'm gonna be cautious here with that. But it seems like it's firmly in place. It's not going anywhere. So next up, let's wire in this microphone. These 3 little sleeves are labeled 2, 3, and then there's no label on number 1. And they give you a little diagram of how they should be oriented on the XLR microphone. And now we can just clip this in here, maybe clean up this cable a little bit. They give you a zip tie with it to kind of clean up the mess. Then we'll get the head back on and give it a shot. Okay, it definitely works. I might need to just turn where the XLR output plugs in just to make it a little easier with this rod, but it hasn't been an issue yet. I have a gig in 2 days playing just a corporate event with a cover band, so that's gonna be the real test of this. I'll try to get a few clips from the show. I don't know if that will include audio, but I'll at least get some video of this all set up, and so far so good. I like it. All right, so just to quickly follow up on the gig last night, everything went great, and it was super convenient being able to just take an XLR cable, go over to my bass drum, plug it in, and be done with it. No extra mic stands, no fiddling with getting my hand inside the drum or dropping a mic in there. It's just easy, grab and go. And for me as a working musician who sets up and tears down my drums multiple times a week, whatever I can do to streamline my process is worth investing in. I know for some of you out there, you look at the cost that I put into this and think, that's crazy, that guy spent $85 on a glorified XLR cable. But for me, on top of being convenient and not having to drill, this is also something that I could remove off this drum and easily install on another drum down the road. So it's also recyclable to a degree. Like I mentioned when I was doing this, there's a few different products you can use. So you could either use that Kelly shoe mount or the Gibraltar one that I did. I don't think a lot of people know about that Gibraltar one. In fact, last year when I was hanging out with Q, who tours with Hamilton, he was over here at my studio and he had never seen something like that. And I ended up buying him one as a gift, and they're using it on the Hamilton tour now. You can also choose between the more expensive Randall May no drill mic cable, or you could get that cheaper Amazon option and just drill a hole in your drum. If I was working with some cheap Pearl export kit that was my beater kit for gigs, I'd probably just do that. I'll have links to all the products I use down below, and I'd love to hear what you think about this and if you've done something similar. So let me know down in the comments, and until next time, thanks.